Hello everybody, and welcome to Cooking with Johnny B. Today we're going to use one of my favorite kitchen appliances, the Ninja Foodi Grill, with a really fun recipe called Easy Cheesy Scalloped Potatoes. This recipe calls for some very simple ingredients. For example, I've got about 6 russet potatoes right here. You can use any kind of potato you like. Some chicken bone broth. This bone broth is about 4 cups. About 3 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 cup of flour, and some salt and pepper. And then also, this is the key ingredient. You need about 8 ounces of your favorite cheese. I happen to like Monterey Jack in this particular recipe, but you could use Colby Jack, mild cheddar, whatever you'd like. And the final ingredient, which is just puts this thing over the top, is some grated Parmesan cheese. This is what you're going to put on the very final steps of the cooking process, right at the very end, just to give it a nice, crunchy, crisp top. And the next step is to thinly slice the potatoes so that they're nice and thin, they can cook evenly. Try to get them as close as you can to the same size. But if they're not, it's not going to really make a big difference, maybe just in the overall look of things. So you just take your knife and you just gently go down the potato like this. Now that your potatoes are nicely sliced, let's grate the cheese. Use the largest section on there. You get some good, big, thick grates of cheese, and just do the whole thing all the way down to the bottom. It's time to make the roux. So the first thing that we need is to get our flour. That goes in right like that. In my cast iron skillet. The next thing that goes in here is the butter. And we're going to turn this on to 400 degrees. And this is going to allow the butter to melt and incorporate with the flour. This is going to give us the nice thick roux that we want for making the sauce that goes over and inside of the scalloped potatoes. So as you can see, I'm just kind of mashing the butter into the flour, trying to incorporate all that together to make it thick. And man, that's starting to smell really good. This is going to keep the flour from getting all lumpy in the sauce that we're making. Kind of a bechamel sauce. Okay, now that this is starting to heat up and it's all incorporated, I'm going to start adding little bits of the chicken broth. Little bits at a time. Now we're going to want to make quite a bit of sauce, quite a bit of this sauce, in order for it to cover completely all of these potatoes. So as it starts to thicken up, I begin to add more. You can see as I go along, what I'm trying to do is to smooth out any potential lumps, and just to make sure this gets more and more creamy as we go along. Time to add some more chicken bone broth. And keep stirring. Now this is also going to thicken up a little bit more as I add the cheese. Now I'm not going to add the entire amount of cheese to this, because I'm going to layer it in when I start layering the pan with the potatoes in it. That way there's plenty of cheese all the way through. Now this is getting really close to being perfect. I think it might need just a little bit more, but you can see how it's not runny, but not so thick to where anything could stand up in. Let's a little bit more. Sometimes I think that I need to stop adding and it turns out a little too thick. So if you're going to err on one side or the other, err on the thin side. Because remember, we're going to be adding the cheese just a little bit. That's going to thicken this up in just a minute. I'm thinking that's just about right. Let's let that set for a minute, see if it can come up to start bubbling. Yeah, now that is just perfect. All right, now it's time to add some cheese. So the cheese that I'm going to put in here, this is 8 ounces of grated cheese. So I'm probably going to put somewhere around 3.5, something like that, ounces of cheese. And I got to start stirring this in right away because I don't want this to burn on the bottom. As it melts, it's going to start getting nice and stringy and just be amazing. As we build the scalloped potatoes in the pan, you're going to see how, as we drip this over it, it's just going to, it'll smell up the room with just amazing fragrance. Cheese, chicken, those are the flavors that I smell right now. Maybe just a little bit more. All right, that's looking good. This is the time I want to add the salt and pepper, so put the pepper right there on top, salt along with it, oop, and stir it in. I like to use coarse ground pepper and Himalayan salt, but you can use whatever kind of salt and pepper you like. Oh, that smells good. Okay, now it's time to build everything into the pan. The Ninja Foodi Grill is a very versatile kitchen appliance. It'll do everything from grill, bake, dehydrate, and even air fry. It's pretty cool. So this is one machine that does a multitude of functions in your kitchen. This is such a versatile tool that you can use it throughout the summer, not heat up your home, and make all kinds of delicious things from steaks, hamburgers, chicken, side dishes. You can bake cake, you can make chili, meatloaf. A lot of this stuff I'm going to be showing you how to do in future episodes. But today we're focusing on the scalloped potatoes. In order to do so, we're just going to take out the pan that comes with it. There's a pan, there's a grill, and there's also an inside basket that you use for air frying. But this is what we're going to be using for right now. So let's get the pan ready to start the assembly of our easy, cheesy scalloped potatoes. So I like to first butter the inside of the pan. So I just take a couple tablespoons in here. I'll get myself a paper towel and just work it around. You want to just make it to where it's non-stick. If you prefer to use a cooking spray, you can do that. I just happen to like the taste of butter, and it keeps everything from sticking in the pan. All right, once the pan is greased, you can see there, throw this out. We're going to start layering the potatoes. So you take your potatoes, and we're just going to start laying them on the bottom, working them all the way around. Now, this is going to take a few minutes, but once you have the bottom layer covered, we're going to put in some of the sauce. It's almost like a gravy. All right, so let's start with the sauce here. Stir it up again a little bit, make sure there's no clumps. And we're just going to pour it in. Make sure the bottom is covered, and that's it. I just kind of do this around the bottom so all the potatoes can get covered. Now I put a little bit of cheese on it, not much, just a little bit of cheese in this layer. And then we start with another layer. Now one thing you will notice is that as you're building your layers, this is not going to be really super thick. And that's kind of important because we want this to cook quickly. This is a dish that you can make from start to finish in less than an hour. And I like to roll it around again, put some more cheese on top. Okay, and then the remaining amount goes in. Just work it back and forth, make sure you cover everything. Get all the rest of that out with a spatula. Don't want to miss any gravy in here. Now, the way that this smells is absolutely incredible. I think I say that all the time, but I love cooking, and I love the way cooking smells and the way it makes my kitchen smell. Okay. Now for the final little layer of cheese, I kind of work this around, and the rest of this cheese goes on top because we want it to have a nice brown top when we get to that final stage. Okay, now you heard me talk about the Parmesan cheese before. That's going to happen after we take off the aluminum foil. So we're going to put the aluminum foil on now because you can tell in the Ninja Foodi, the heating element is on the top and it's a convection oven. There's a fan that blows the heat around. So we want to make sure this is covered for a good part of the cooking time so it doesn't scorch the top, especially the cheese. Now that the aluminum foil is tightly secured to the top of your pan, you want to insert it. Now you'll notice on the Ninja Foodi Grill, there's an indentation right here, and this goes toward the back. So why is it important that this is on a little bit tight? Because otherwise the fan that blows will suck the foil up into the pan. We don't want that. As you can tell from the Ninja Foodi Grill, there are many different features on this appliance. The first one is grill. This will allow you to do your steaks, your hamburgers, any kind of meat that you want to grill with grill marks and everything. This is that function. We also have air crisp. So this is actually an air fryer as well. It dehydrates, roasts. So if you're doing chicken, you can roast it and bake. So today we're going to use the bake feature. So we're going to push bake, power on, bake, and we want to set the temperature for 375 degrees. Then we press start, and it starts with the preheating. Now you can read on the display, it says add food. So in this case, we're just going to lift the top. The food's already in. We're going to close it back down, and we're going to set the time to 45 minutes. Once it beeps, it's ready and it starts the countdown. We've gone about 35 minutes into the cooking time, so let's take out the pan and set it over here. Take off the foil. And you can see it's really getting nice and soft. Let's check it out with a fork to make sure it's getting tender. Last thing you ever want is to have a crunchy. Oh, these are nice and tender. Good. Okay. Now we're coming down to the final stretch where we take our Parmesan cheese and we just sprinkle it across the top here. And now this goes back into the Foodi, and we cover it up, and it has about 10 more minutes to cook. At the end of 10 minutes, we'll come back and we'll check it out and see what it looks like. Now look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. Let's set this over here and let's get down to the taste test. Okay, it's time for us to taste this delicious side dish. Easy, cheesy scalloped potatoes. You can see on the top there's this little crust of Parmesan cheese in with all that bechamel sauce and cheese. Let's take a taste, see what it's like. Oh my goodness, that is so good. I can't wait for you to try this recipe at your home. I hope you enjoyed this recipe as much as I did. And if you did, please send me a comment. I'd be happy to reply back to you. So if you enjoyed this video, once again, I'd ask you to subscribe, to like, and send this to a friend so they can learn how to use their kitchen appliances as well. So that's it for Cooking with Johnny B today, and I'll catch you on the next one.